How are you all doing? You hanging in there with this coronavirus stuff? Are any of you sick? Are any of your families sick? I pray for all of you. But if you need me, if you need my help, if you need the prayers of the group, please just send a note. Our lesson for reflection today is on the medicine against hard-heartedness, which is memory. This will reference a gospel which we read about 42 days ago, from the Gospel of Mark. Christians must never forget the grace of salvation, which makes the heart sincere and capable of mercy. In the Gospel from St. Mark, where the disciples are worried about the shortage of bread in the boat, where there was also Jesus, the concern for a material good had got the better of the disciples. Jesus rebukes them that their hearts are hardened and they cannot understand. Have you eyes and cannot see? And have you ears and cannot hear? He asks them, reminding them of the multiplication of 5 loaves to feed 5,000, with many baskets full of fragments left over. There is a difference between a hardened heart, like that of the disciples, and a compassionate heart, like that of the Lord. Compassion is what the Lord wants in us, noting, mercy is what I want, not sacrifice. That a heart without compassion is an idolatrous heart. A self-sufficient heart goes ahead sustained by its own selfishness, becoming strong only in ideologies. Speaking about the 4 ideological groups of Jesus' time, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots, they had hardened their hearts to carry out a project that was not God's, as there was no place for compassion. They were set on their own path, filled with the worldliness passions of ambition, greed, and lust for power and status. They were not interested in serving anyone but themselves. They were not ever focused on serving at the temple for God. How silly and naive of you to think of that. However, against this hard-heartedness, there is a medicine, and it is memory. That is why, in the Markan Gospel, in many other scripture passages, there echoes the need for the salvic power of memory, a grace to be asked for because it keeps the heart open and faithful. When the heart hardens, one forgets the grace of salvation and gratuitousness. A hardened heart leads to quarrels, to wars, to selfishness, and the destruction of the brother and sister, because there is no compassion. The greatest message of salvation is that God has had compassion on us. And the gospel often repeats that Jesus had compassion on seeing a person or a painful situation. Jesus is the compassion of the Father. Jesus is the slap to every hardness of heart. This underscores the need for asking for the grace of having a heart that is not hardened and full of ideologies, but open and compassionate in the face of what is happening in the world each day, in this modern world. It is on this that we will be judged at the last judgment, and not by our ideas, or our ideologies. I was hungry, and you gave me to eat. I was in prison, and you visited me. I was suffering, and you consoled me. This is what is written in the gospel, and this is compassion. In this there is no hardness of heart. And humility, the memory of our roots and our salvation, will help us to keep it that way. Every one of us has something that has hardened within our hearts. Let us remember and let it be the Lord who gives us a righteous and sincere heart where the Lord dwells. The Lord cannot enter hardened and ideological hearts. He enters hearts that are like his heart, open, human, and compassionate. And I thank the Holy Father for his lesson here.